Well, welcome everybody to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck, and that means, of course, some Smart Talk Radio is in your future. This segment, no exception. Going to be a fun one today. We're going to be talking to Babette Hagerty. She is celebrity dog trainer and head of the Hagerty School for Dogs. Boy, we could have all kinds of fun just with that name. But she has put out a fun work called The Best Dog Tricks on the Planet, 106 amazing things your dog can do on command. Boy, I'd settle for one of them. Hey, Jill, or Babette, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, thanks, Warner. How are you?
I think we're good here. Gosh, you talk about dogs, you talk about pets, you immediately go right to people's heartstrings. It must be wonderful, the work that you do.
Oh, I love it. Every day I spend training families to have once-in-a-lifetime dogs. That's what everybody deserves, and everybody can have that.
What give our Lewis at Large listeners here? You've done some work with celebrities. You've done work with real people. You work on your own writing and giving seminars and teaching lessons, etc. What got you interested in this beyond what sort of the normal person and their interest in animals?
Well, I was very fortunate. My dad, Captain Hagerty, who passed away several years back, he actually put dog training on the map. When I was growing up, people were not dog trainers. People didn't hire dog trainers. And my dad pretty much pioneered the entire field of dog training. So I grew up around it, and I remember one day I was in college in Florida, and I had gone to a dog show with my mom, and I called up my dad, and I said, Dad, I need a show dog. I don't like not being around the dogs anymore since I was away from home. I grew up in a dog training kennel, and now I was away from home without the dogs. And he said, oh, there's no money in that. What you need to do is start dog training. And I said, yeah, but Dad, you're the dog trainer. Nobody, I can't be a dog trainer. And he came down, he set me up, and next thing I knew, I went from training dogs for some extra money through college to a full-fledged, full-time booming business in Palm Beach. And I never looked back. And I can't imagine living life without dogs. I don't feel like I work. I just happen to help people with their dogs, and I make money doing it.
One of the when I saw this thing, The Best Dog Tricks on the Planet, amazing things you can do, I think I'm probably similar. I thought, okay, I've seen this before. No, I can't teach my dog to do anything. But this work seems to really simplify it and make it so the everyday person can really have a special, can teach their dog to do things.
Absolutely. And people are surprised. This morning I was working with a Maltese. It was their second lesson. They hired me because they felt their Maltese was aggressive and unhappy. And the dog needs, some behavior modification exercises, but we started teaching her doing some tricks. We started teaching her to dance on command. And by the end of the lesson, she was walking forward on her hindquarters, walking backwards, and spinning around. And you could see the look in this dog's eyes. It just changed. She's happy. I left and she was a happy dog. When I got there, she was this barking, neurotic mess. And now she's starting to realize, wow, I can do these fun things, and I am becoming more confident as a dog. And we had some dogs out with us and some cars, things she will usually bark at, and she was silent. She didn't say a word. But because we were giving her a job to do that she enjoyed, she forgot about the dogs and the cars and the people passing by that usually she wants to bark at.
Babette, that's a central question here, and a lot of people think, God, having dogs do all these tricks doesn't necessarily exploit them, but they really don't like it, and it's mean, and you're sort of overworking them unnecessarily. Or obviously you must subscribe to the other theory, which is, no, it gives them discipline, and they love to please.
Absolutely, it gives them discipline, and it makes them happier. Dogs that finish trick training or obedience training, any kind of training, they're more relaxed. People tell me all the time, wow, she just seems like a happier dog, because they understand what you want from them. And just like people, we enjoy using our minds. So do our dogs. We enjoy physical activity. So do our dogs.
What is, again, you've been doing this a long time. It runs in the family. What would you say is the major misconception that dog owners have about their pets? What do we look at them the wrong way on certain subjects?
I think there has definitely been a trend. I've watched it over the last 10, 15 years, as we've brought dogs closer to our hearts and closer to our home. There was a time where dogs lived outside in a fenced-in yard or maybe tied up to the tree, and now we walk down the street and we put them in a stroller. I think we've almost gone to the other extreme where we're babying them too much, and that creates all sorts of other problems. Then you also have a lot of people who think their dog is stupid. And as my dad used to say, look, you're going to work every single day. You're the one who pays the mortgage. You're the one who pays the vet bills. And your dog is laying around on the sofa all day relaxing and enjoying himself. Who's the stupid one?
Who's the stupid one, right. Was it, George Carlin that says the dog's job is to eat and sleep? What do they do on vacation? Something like that. Well, anyway, okay. Let's, again, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis, here from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. And this segment, we're talking about those wonderful canine creatures called dogs, the best dog tricks on the planet. Author is Babette Hagerty. She is a well-known celebrity dog trainer and the Hagerty School for Dogs. Babette, let's talk also. We were talking a little bit off the air about that we had John Provost, the former Timmy, on the show Lassie. On this show, and you had mentioned that you had an occasion to work with him a couple of times. Share with our audience a little bit about that.
Oh, he's a very nice man. I was fortunate enough to work very closely when I was in Palm Beach for 18 years with Canine Companions for Independence. And Timmy, I call him Timmy, but John Provost, he would come out and do a promotional tour with some of the volunteers to raise money for Canine Companions for Independence. And because, of course, he's Timmy, he needed a collie by his side. So I was able to provide Timmy with his own collie for the event, and we did that 2 or 3 years running. And we had a great time. It was held out at the Palm Beach Kennel Club, and we had all of the local celebrities come out, a lot of the Palm Beachers, and we raised a lot of money. And, of course, everybody would come running up to the collie and say, is this Lassie? Is this the real Lassie? I think they forgot that, unfortunately, Lassie only lives about 10, 15 years.
Right.
But we had our very own personal Lassie there for Timmy, and he was just a very nice, down-to-earth guy. And he told me, I asked him why he was still doing it, because I'm pretty sure his life has now, he's removed from Hollywood. And he said that he had so many fond memories working with Lassie and working on the show that he just enjoys keeping the Lassie legacy alive.
He also mentioned on this show, you'll find this interesting, that there were several Lassies, including several episodes where they'd use 2 different Lassies. So
yes.
Unless you were watching terribly closely, you probably didn't notice that. But all right, let's talk about our pets, our dogs, our living room, our garage, our yard. How does John Q., average dog owner, who simply wants their dog to sit or to not raise the roof every time the doorbell rings? Let's just start with those basics. What do we need to do just to start?
Teach your dog to sit. Take a treat, tell them sit. Give them a reward. Do it over and over and over again. Teach the dog that every single time the doorbell rings, and you can get your kids and your neighbors to help you with this, to send the dog to his spot. So that when the doorbell rings, you tell him, Rover, go to your spot, and you bring him over to his spot and you tell him to stay there. The spot can also be called place, bed, whatever you want it to be. It can just be a spot in the living room. And he should learn to relax there and stay there for 30 minutes every night.
So, okay, now let's just start with sit. I say, I want you to sit. So SIT doesn't mean anything to the dog, and I've heard 2 theories. One, yes, you push their rear haunches down, or no, you don't, to train them. How do we do that?
There are 2 of several ways, but 2 of the more common ways are, a lot of times dogs will just sit for a treat. You can pick up the treat and you bring it up over their nose and they'll sit. Now, if they don't sit and you want to place them into a sit, instead of pushing down on their hindquarters, what I like to do is sort of lift up the muzzle in an arc, so to speak. And that brings the hindquarters down. It's sort of like, Warner, when we lift up our chin, our butt comes underneath us. We just shift the dog's weight.
Right.
And the dog goes right into a sit. Your hands are already on the dog, so you're praising the dog as you're placing it into the sit. If you push down on the hindquarters, they're more apt to resist. But when you do it that way, you're placing them into it, your hands are on them. It's a very calm, gentle exercise, and they're being praised while you do it. The other mistake people make is they say, sit, 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 sit. Well, which sit did you mean, the first one or the fifth one?
Right.
Kind of like kids. Go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. Which time did you actually mean it, the first time or the fifth time? Say it one time, place them into the sit, give them lots of praise.
You've got everything in this book, from teaching your dog to walk on their front legs to putting a ball through a basketball hoop.
Yes.
Again, I want to explore this one. Is there anything you can't teach your dog to do? And what's the point, again, other than your own entertainment, of teaching your dog to walk on their front legs?
Is there anything we can't teach them to do? Well, there are things we could teach them to do, but sometimes it's not so safe.
Yeah.
I have yet to figure out what they cannot do, because as I work with dogs, teaching them different tricks, I keep creating more and more tricks. Now, I would love to get my dog to sit high on my head, but he's a big dog. It's a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
It's one of my dogs. That would be hard to do. Could she sit high on my head? Yes. If my head was fat enough, of course she could.
Well, here's another fundamental question. True, not true. Easier to teach a young dog new tricks. Is it impossible to teach an old dog any of these tricks?
Absolutely not. The oldest dog I ever trained was 11 years old, the mixed breed named Einstein. And Einstein was going after the new puppy in the house and had never been trained. And Einstein became a better dog. Einstein wasn't as good as Lassie, but definitely became a better dog. And she was happier, too.
What about, again, my sense is, over time, seeing the world, those that teach dogs tricks and those that teach them discipline, do we always reward with a treat, or is that or is that ultimately not the way you really want to do it?
I personally, and you'll have a lot of people that will disagree with me, there are two camps. Some people say always use food reward. I personally like lots of love and praise. A lot of owners can't handle having the treat, having the dog, having the leash, trying to figure out what they're doing. They have two left feet. It's easier to be able to just love and praise the dog. All dogs work for praise. The reward is also in the work itself. So they're being praised for actually doing the work itself. For trick training, I'm more apt to use treats. Because with the trick training, you don't have to worry about praising them too much, the dog becoming bored with the treats. If the dog quits working for the treats with trick training, okay, so he doesn't roll over and play dead. Not a big deal. But when you use food reward and you overuse it in obedience training, like come when called, if the dog decides, hey, I don't feel like that hot dog right now, I'm not coming to you, then you have a problem, because that could mean the difference between the dog's life and the dog's death.
All right. Well, here's an example. I could see that, yes, you want your dog to learn how to sit. You're going to reward them with a lot of praise. It's relatively simple, quick, clean. You have on page 111 in the book, turn the lights on and off. My guess is if you're at that level, he maybe, you know what, maybe I do get a little milk bone biscuit. How about that?
Absolutely. And you'll see most of those tricks, if not all of them, I'm using food reward with it.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it boils down into sort of basically two camps, but it sounds like you mix it up a little bit. And something else, do we have, we love our dogs so much, we let them do all kinds of things we would never let a child do. But I'm curious, what about for cats? And I know cats is not your deal, but why can we train a dog, but we can't train a cat to do anything?
Dogs are very eager to please, and they've been by our side since the beginning of time. Cats, not so much. You can train cats. I have a friend who trains cats, and I did have a cat that used to come when she was called, and she would sit for a treat. So you can train them. They're just not as eager to please as dogs. They have a different personality.
Any particular, in your experience, and again with Babette Hagerty, a well-known celebrity dog trainer, and has her own Hagerty School for Dogs, has worked worked back east, also spent quite a bit of time, as we heard, out in Palm Beach. I'm just curious, Babette, as you look back over your career, any particular breeds or kinds of dogs that tend to be a little bit easier to train than others?
Yes, I would say the standard poodle. And I know that will shock a lot of your listeners. People look at standard poodles and they see fluff and beauty and prima donna. They can be very tough dogs in the sense of they make great guard dogs. You may not believe it, but they make great guard dogs. They're also very easy to train. Golden Retrievers are also a lovely, lovely breed.
Well, at the same time, we teach our dog every time the doorbell rings to not go absolutely berserk. Are we taking away from them an important instinct of protection? If in the middle of the night someone is rattling the door, maybe we do want them to bark.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with them barking as long as they stop when you tell them to. And you can also teach them to speak on command, and you can also teach them to stop barking on command. And that, to me, is the ideal situation. Because let's say you have a dog, like I'll train my German Shepherds to a command called watch 'em. So if I'm walking down the street and it's dark at night and I see somebody and I'm not too comfortable, I'll say to my Shepherd, I'll say, watch 'em, watch 'em. And she'll start to growl. And then if I want her to bark and just be a little bit tougher, I'll tell her, speak, speak. And she'll start barking. And I know that guy's not going to bother me. Maybe he wasn't going to begin with, but I feel safer doing it. And she knows when I tell her to do that and to watch him, she will. But I also don't want to walk her down the street and have her barking and lunging at every single person she sees. That's not a dog that you can control.
What about, and again, the family dog? We have, let's say, a husband, a wife, a 10-year-old, and a 15-year-old in a household. Should everybody be in on the training, or can one person train, and so therefore, if everyone else follows the commands properly, they can execute the tricks too?
Everybody else can execute the tricks. I do prefer to work with one person who's going to be fully in charge of practicing every day. Now, what happens is you have the 10-year-old who thinks it's fun for about 20 minutes. The 15-year-old has many more important things to do.
Right.
So generally it falls on the shoulders of mom or dad. And usually it's mom, because moms just end up doing everything. Dad's at work. He doesn't want to deal with the dog. Mom loves the dog. It's her other child. And I tell the families, if mom practices every day, the dog is going to be better for everybody else in the household. However, the dog is going to learn, just like kids learn, who will let them get away with things. For example, I ask people all the time, who did you ask for the car keys, mom or dad? Well, whoever was going to say yes. So if dad lets the dog up on the furniture and mom doesn't, when mom leaves, the dog's going to jump up on the furniture. When mom comes home, the dog's going to get off the furniture. But when dad is there, the dog will cuddle up on the furniture with dad. And the dog will very quickly learn, I can be on the furniture when dad's around, I can't be when mom's around.
What about, my sense would be, and again, I'm not a dog psychologist, obviously, but the more that you work with your dog, teaching 3 tricks, I would sense, would make it easier to teach the 4th. Is that
absolutely fair? Yes, it absolutely snowballs. Once they start having fun with this, they actually start offering you different tricks. And I always like to see what the dog wants to offer me. See what the dog does naturally. If you have a dog that is a nervous scratcher, they're always scratching to keep busy. You start putting it on cue. Scratch, scratch. Do you have fleas? Do you have fleas? Do you have fleas? And that's a cute trick. If you have a dog that loves to crawl, golden retrievers love to crawl. They'll lay down and then they'll start inching towards you. Well, that's a great trick to teach the dog. Have them crawl across the room. And it can become an educational tool, too. You can say to the dog, what do we do in a fire? Teach the kids what to do in a fire. The dog starts crawling across the room. People love that. You can also make the dog very useful. I'm always losing my keys. I tell my dog, find my keys. My dog will sniff out and find my keys. And they enjoy the work. It makes it fun for them. It stimulates them mentally and physically.
Well, as we start to wind down here, give us an example of, is there a particular trick or particular kinds of tricks or behaviors that you think people would find the most useful?
Find the keys, find the cell phone.
Go to the store.
And those are in the book. And you know what? If you buy this book for the holidays for a friend who always loses their cell phone, they'll be ecstatic.
Well, you can tell she loves it, and that's half the battle right there. Her name is Babette Hagerty. She is a celebrity dog trainer. She's the head of the Hagerty School for Dogs. The work is the best dog tricks on the planet, and it is a neat work indeed. It is published by Page Street Publishing. Babette, tell us how we can find out more about dog training from you, and also, like you said, holidays are coming up. What a great book to give.
Yes, you can get the book at every major bookseller. Amazon has it. Barnes & Noble has it. You can contact me at my website at Hagerty-Dog.com, HAGGERTYDOG.com.
So what's the next big thing for you? You another book or another big celebrity dog you're going to work with?
I want to do another dog tricks book. Absolutely. I would love to have a dog trick show. I think it would be a lot of fun for people to watch a new trick every single week that they can teach their dog.
Boy, I'll tell you what, if you could get one to crank up a Toro and mow the lawn, that would really be helpful. Either that or help me get out of a sand trap during my golf game. Anyway, well, listen, thank you so much. Fun book, fun topic, obviously, about the hairy canines that we love so much, and would like to have you back on again.
Thank you, Warner. It was an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large. Hey, Babette, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
All right. Say hello to my friends in New Jersey, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good, Warner. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.